Hello everyone, this is Ronnie. A lot of people are getting a bit, I don't know, concerned, concerned about the whole mask thing with coronavirus and COVID-19. And I wore a mask a bunch of times in Thailand. They were Sometimes you had to wear a mask if you were going into the bank, and different places wanted you to wear a mask, and they wouldn't let you in if you didn't. And I didn't mind that. We had some masks, and sometimes they were saying like the police might stop you if you don't have a mask, so sometimes I was wearing a mask, and it didn't bother me to wear a mask. But I mean, overall, I don't think the coronavirus or whatever was ever a risk for me or most people. And where I was, no one had coronavirus. There was no cases of coronavirus on Koh Phangan. This did not stop there being the beaches being closed and all that stuff. And for me, this whole situation, the whole response to this, nothing's really made sense. And maybe I'm completely in the wrong about all this, but I've just observed it and I've been thinking this doesn't really make sense. Why is this? Why are all these different measures being taken? Why is the lockdown running so long? Why have the numbers seemingly been inflated in terms of deaths from coronavirus and different things? Um, the pandemonium in the hospitals. Why were we told that happened and it didn't really happen? Like there's so many parts of this that don't add up, and my opinion of it is that it's not as bad as we thought it was initially, and but it's kind of been drawn out anyway because the public got really involved in it. The public got really scared. The public supported the lockdown and have supported the lockdown completely. And the public support the wearing of masks. So everyone wear a mask. But that's what it feels like. It just feels like going along with public support. This emotion is being created and we have to justify it in some way. So I got in a big kind of debate slash argument with a friend on Facebook. Well, I don't know him that well, but I've met him before. Um, I think he's wanting to make a video and saying why is it that raw vegans and fruitarians are against the wearing of masks, and to be fair, the comment I made was based on something I'd seen a while back where an epidemiologist said the only really scientifically backed response to the pandemic are washing your hands and social distancing. Like those are the only things that have really been shown to help stop the spread. Um, and on top of that, the fact that masks haven't really been encouraged, in fact, at one point were pretty much discouraged, um, makes it really strange that now it would all of a sudden be encouraged. And so to me, it's like, well, why back then was it like, don't wear a mask, don't bother wearing a mask kind of thing, and now it's everyone has to wear a mask. And the question then that automatically comes to mind is, does that mean that in the UK 45,000 people died because we didn't wear masks? Like, why didn't we wear masks from the start? I mean, back then they were saying, well, there's not really any point. Those masks don't really protect you, and the surgical masks should be kept for the doctors and everything. You know, the higher grade kind of masks that they had a limited quantity of. So to me, it's kind of my memory suggests that people were told that masks weren't really an important thing, and now it's a mandatory thing. And it seems to me like it's a mandatory thing because there is support in the public, and the public wants something. it makes them feel safe now or whatever. Um, I mean, at least that's what I can see. But a lot of things in confined spaces, people have been asked to wear masks. I still think that that's not so much about the virus spreading. It's more about people's own people feeling safer. Um, and someone they shared with me like the science around wearing a mask, and I was looking at it going, "This is weird. This article. It's not even science. It's like drawing crazy conclusions, and it's anecdotes, and it's like this isn't really the science around this." I would imagine that if we knew that masks, maybe I'm crazy, but if we knew that masks stop the transmission of flu and stop someone getting, sorry, not just flu, but any kind of respiratory disease, then why would we allow 20,000, 30,000, or across the world, like a million or so, however many people die of flu viruses every year? Um, why wouldn't always the information be for older people to wear masks and more vulnerable people to wear masks? Why wouldn't that just be accepted rather than, rather than the flu shots that don't really work that well and stuff like that? Why would like I don't get that. Why is it just now that we've realized that masks should be worn? Like, I don't get it. So I don't think that change like I don't think that's changed that much. Anyway, the way that I've looked at the coronavirus thing, right, is that initially the World Health Organization, just happened in China, the World Health Organization said something in the region of 3% of people could die. 3% of people that were infected with this could die. Or maybe it's 3% of people who were symptomatic would die. Maybe that's what they said, but as far as I was concerned, and maybe I'm wrong about this, it was 3% of people who were infected could die. Because of that, the statistics came out that 500,000 people were going to die, or close to that, or maybe it was 250,000 people were going to die in the UK, 2 million people were going to die in the US, regardless of whatever we tried to do, because it would basically be impossible to just stop it completely. And then obviously that wasn't happening, and then that got revised to 500,000 people would die if we didn't lock down. But because we locked down, much less people would die. But then the question goes, well, that does that mean that we're gonna once we come out of lockdown that people mysteriously won't die of it that would have died of it if we didn't lock down? Like, is there's some basic things like that. Like, is are we just waiting for it to completely disappear off the planet, and then people will come out of their caves? It's as far as I was aware, it's pretty difficult or maybe impossible to stop the spread from happening. And what the lockdown was for was to try and slow it down. Was to slow it down. Um, but maybe the lockdown's been more effective than they thought. But the fact remains that there was a public fear around this that so many people were going to die. Human beings have various inborn fears and anxieties and concerns. And the fear of contagion, the fear of, um, you know, parasites, the fear of different things like that is real in us, I think. And therefore, the fear went viral before anything else, the panic around it. And the public are like, well, what's happening? What are you going to do? To the government, what are you going to do about this? And the media just kept on building it up and building it up and building it up and playing on this fear, and realized there was an absolute pot of gold in this scenario, right? So the government jumps in and does the lockdown, and this is something that China had done in all these, like a communist country. So China had done it, so other countries started to do it, and we did it, first time ever in history, and the public massively supported it. That's one of the reasons that the lockdown happened. The public mostly supported this. And for a lot of people, this has probably been a pretty good experience. People have been at home, people have been furloughed, they don't have to work, they're just getting paid anyway. People in the US are getting loads of unemployment money. So of course people are supporting it. And then, but everyone else, it's like the people that like run the economy and create the jobs and do all that and run the companies and all that. They're like, this is pretty bad. This is pretty bad. This is gonna be bad. This is gonna lead to a lot of damage. And the public's just like, hey, it's cool, we're at home, you know. Um, and people are being shielded and staying away from each other and all that. And people have really been taking it serious. I didn't realize how much people were taking this seriously in the UK. So the lockdown continued and continued, and not long after the lockdown, the peak of cases happened. Started to drop after that. The peak of deaths as well started to drop after that, and that's all assumed to have been because of lockdown. But there was still excess deaths that were happening over and above the coronavirus deaths, and there's been, to me, there's been a lot of obvious controversy about what's been actually counted as a coronavirus death or a COVID death, and there's been controversy about certain countries or the US. Potentially, there's been financial incentives or whatever to label people as COVID deaths. I think in other places, doctors were given the power to label COVID deaths without even a test being done. Just if there was a suspicion, if they had some of the symptoms, that they could label people as COVID deaths. I think in the care homes, the reason that there's so many care home deaths as well is that if there was evidence that someone in the care home had it, that there was almost an assumption that other people that died in the care home, it was because of it. And so there seems to potentially have been inflated numbers of deaths. And apparently the test isn't that accurate, so there's potentially an inflated number of cases, although I don't know if we really know exactly. But the predominating thing is that the public believe in it, and the public got scared about it, and the public bought into it, and the public wanted the lockdown, and now the public wants masks, now that things are opening up. And some of the information as well suggests that it's already spread far further through the population than we realise, and there's much less people that develop symptoms than we realise. And maybe all that's wrong. Maybe all the information that I've come across is wrong, and maybe, um, you know, even the numbers are wrong. And I think if you think about Sweden, a country that didn't really lock down that much, they've had 5,000 deaths, or over 5,000, and that is double what they would usually have in a flu season. So it's pretty. If you think about that, double's pretty bad. But it's a bad flu season. you know, and we usually don't lock down for that. And sometimes there is a flu season where it's double the amount of people die from it. And it's not just old people that die from the flu and all that stuff. And I'm not saying it's just the flu, but I'm just saying that if we use that comparison, it just seems to be we're going a lot. We're riding this wave of emotion, and the government doesn't know how to deal with this. And my suspicion is that a report maybe will be maybe if this is allowed to be done, but a full report will come out at some point about that a lot of this was a mistake and that a lot of it was not real, and a lot of the deaths. And the other controversial thing is there a potential that deaths have been caused by lockdown? Not just by COVID, but deaths have been caused by lockdown, by people seeing all this stuff about the hospitals being overwhelmed and then being scared to go into hospitals thinking that they could get infected and not going to hospital when they had a legitimate reason to go and avoided treatment and things like that, and that potentially some people have died, and maybe many people have died in this period due to not going to hospital than usual. I don't think the information is fully there. I mean, I don't know why someone would have researched how many excess deaths not non-COVID or non-COVID related, and why has that happened. So it's all, to me, a kind of bizarre thing. But the masks thing, I'm not bothered about either way. You know, if you want to wear a mask or not, or I I don't mind wearing a mask if I need to go into a shop or something and they say wear a mask. But I know that these masks aren't really. That's what I always thought. Like, these masks aren't protect. These silly little things aren't protecting anyone. These little cloth masks, you know. So you're putting it on so that someone in the shop, it feels safe or secure to allow you to come in, and the thing isn't protecting you or anyone. It's just a symbolic thing, and that's what it felt like in Thailand when I'm like, this is just a piece of cloth. Like, this doesn't stop anything. This doesn't stop anything. Doesn't stop anything coming in. Doesn't stop anything coming out. It's just the visual aspect of it. You know, the visual gesture, and I, I, I just I just found it strange, but I understood that that's what was happening. We live in a strange time now, where it seems like logic, common sense, science, all that just is going out the window. So when people are saying, "Well, where's your science to say that the masks aren't, effective?" I'm like, "Well, why weren't we told to wear the mask in the first place? If they're effective, that means that hundreds of thousands of people have died when we could have just worn masks. Why didn't we just wear masks from the get go? How come it's now that all of a sudden it's mandatory to wear masks? You know? It's just weird. Anyway, I'm sure below a lot of people are going to tell me I'm wrong about all this and share articles with me and stuff, but I don't think much of this makes sense. And the idea that the experts can get away with one opinion one day and then it changes and they claim the science has changed, I don't fully believe that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Put your opinions and comments below. Thank you for watching the channel. We'll see you in another video.